what's it about?
I mean, you're looking at me, but I'm going to ask Lady Anne to take this, since she's the architect behind
The architect behind it. Very well, Lady Anne.
Thank you. I'll take you back a little bit. I like to give a bit of background and context to the Wholesome Minds Summit. A few years back, we had a business relationship with Dr. Seth,
Right.
because he held my family through a difficult time with one family member who had a challenge with mental illness. And after the diagnosis, he initially got us a psychiatrist. After that, we had to be at Kolibu for 2 weeks straight. And during that period at Kolibu, going there to visit every day, I noticed that there's a gap in our society that needs to be filled when it comes to mental health issues, because it's not spoken about. So after she came back home, she's getting the good care she deserves. I thought about it and I said, you know what? I need to be able to give back to the community somehow, in terms of filling that gap, which is educating the public on mental health.
Right.
Because it wasn't until going through that period of head that I knew that I could apply the Mental Health Act to get an involuntary court order, to get somebody to be taken care of, amongst other things. And it wasn't until then I noticed, or I learned, that there is actually a difference between mental health and mental illness. And so I coined the term. I brought a few professionals along with my colleagues at my firm and said, you know, we need to do something. And that is really the background to the Wholesome Minds Summit.
I see. So, I mean, the inspiration behind all of this is
Yes.
an experience that you had to go through,
Yes.
which made you want to create awareness, about mental health.
Yes.
And so, is this the first time?
This is.
The maiden edition.
It is the
of
maiden
Mental Health
edition of the
Summit?
Mental Health Summit.
Right.
The Wholesome Minds Summit.
Right. So, what are some of the things that we're expected to learn or to hear or to listen to at the summit?
And so this summit is a little different from your usual summit you attend to. We'll definitely have a keynote address. We'll have a panel discussion. We'll have a lawyer, a psychiatrist. Dr. Seth will be there as well, a psychologist on the panel, and an HR professional who will be speaking on issues in relation to mental health awareness, policy generation, and we'll have the biggest thing is the workshops. We've partnered with the Mental Health Authority, Kolibu Psychiatry, Medical School, Psychiatry Department, and the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, as well as Labadi Beach Hotel. So these workshops will have a minimum of 15 mental health professionals. Each group would have a certain topic that is going to be discussed during the workshop, so that the issues concerning that topic, so for example, burnout, stress, bullying in the workplace, all the aspects of mental health that you need to know will be discussed during these workshops.
Right.
And at the end of the day, there will be summaries concerning these that would educate the participants on the topic. And then we have a networking session, which is a reception which we've termed the Wholesome Mind Experience.
Right. So, Doc, why would you say it's important for people to attend this the Wholesome Mind Summit?
Well, I mean, for starters, it's mental health. And you say there's no health without mental health. That's the starting point.
Yeah.
The second thing is, this is about one of those few times where you have collaborations across the field. So now you have law and mental health coming together. And that is, it's novel and it's an amazing thing, especially because Vincent and Lydia championed this whole process.
Yeah.
Now, I always take this opportunity also to, talk a little about what mental health is. Classically, people will hear mental health and all they think about is the mad person on the street.
Yeah.
But it's far larger than that. Mental health looks beyond just the thinking faculty going out of
Well,
whack.
everybody has a mental problem.
That
Of course,
is
we all
true.
go through stress. So stress is
Yes.
a mental health related
Everybody
issue.
has a
So
mental health
everybody
problem.
has it. But you see, mental health also looks at the way we're able to manage our stresses
Right.
as a key component. Now, for us mental health professionals, we understand one thing. Somebody can have a biological predisposition to having a mental health episode.
Right.
They'll never get it if they keep their stresses in check. So maybe you might have heard about somebody. We all know somebody who was doing well and something happened.
Yeah.
They lost a loved one, they lost a job, they lost a relationship, and suddenly, because that was a necessary trigger, powerful enough to push them into the other side. Now, I want you to think about mental health as a continuum. So mental health is not an absolute state, like you have it or you don't have it. And it also says that because it's a continuum, there are many things you can do to enhance it further along.
Right.
Also things that you can do to ensure that it drops. And those are some of the things that I think this summit will bring to the fore, to give us the tools that would enhance our mental health, because we know there are many things within our environment that makes it decline anyway.
So from where you sit, working in the mental health space, right, as a physician in that space, what are some of the biggest mental health issues that are peculiar to us here,
Well,
in this country?
every
You
time
mentioned
I'm
stress. Everybody's
That-
stressed.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
So
we are stressed.
I always start from the biggest one is the stress and the burnout.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of us who are on autopilot. Like you go every day.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're not taking a hit. Now you see, unlike the physical body, the mind is not able to communicate its displeasure as quickly as the body would. So you see, with your body, if there's something going out of balance, you feel pain, you see a lump, you see temperature. So that tells you, let me do something about it. Now, when it comes to mental health related issues, the brain will try and contain as much as it can. And then when it cannot deal with it anymore, I mean, it'll be giving you signs. So you wake up in the morning, you don't have motivation to do anything.
Yeah.
It's a sign like, okay, bro, do something about it.
You don't want to go to work.
So you
You
keep
don't want to do anything.
piling, and then one day it's like, okay, I can't take this anymore. So then it will expose you. And normally when the brain is exposing, it also uses the body as its core. So there are many people who talk about, I'm having this pain. I've done every test. Nothing is happening. They say I'm fine, but I feel the pain. That's what we call a psychosomatic condition, because the brain is trying to communicate and say, please do something about it. So stress is the biggest one. Now, from where I sit, the challenges that we face now, I mean, the depression, anxiety are there, but they are all secondary to something much bigger. And I think the biggest challenge we face now is the issue of addiction. And it's not just about drugs, as many people would think, but it's the technology
Right.
and the gambling.
Right.
So we are hearing a lot of stories about somebody borrowed money and they went and staked the bet, and now blah blah. And then you see the other things coming. Now the addiction is so extreme that it's affecting our children. So basically, we're conditioning their brain to be fertile for addiction. And we know
Because they're
that
always on the screens
Absolutely.
and endless scrolling.
the brain wants and requires stimulation. Now, generally, the way the mind works is that the mind wants to motivate you to do things that give you a survival advantage, okay? So every time something fun happens or you do something great, the body will release a certain chemical to make you feel excited. So when you eat, you feel happy and say, oh, food makes you. It's not the food. The brain will release dopamine that says, remember to eat again. But that's for survival. You go to school, you graduate, you feel good. The brain says, do it again. So it gives you that influx of dopamine so that you keep on getting those things. And at the end of the day, all of that is still for safety. Now, we found a way to trick our brains to release dopamine without any lesson. And that's the technology. So I'm scrolling. Oh, wow. My brain is just releasing dopamine. So I'm excited, but I'm not doing anything. So at some point now, I need dopamine to feel okay. And that's the biggest addiction I think we're facing now.
Wow. So I'm pretty sure a lot of these things are going to be discussed,
Absolutely.
right, at the Wholesome Minds Summit. So when is it happening? Where is it happening? Who can attend? All the details.
So it's happening October 10th at Labadi Beach Hotel.
Okay.
We're going to be opening registration links 23rd of September, so a week from today. Labadi Beach Hotel is also a partner in the collaboration. What else do I need to answer? You said when, where, and when. Yes. So Labadi Beach Hotel, October 10th, and registration will be open. It is a free registration.
A free registration.
Yes. However, we have
How will it be done?
partners online on the firm's website, which is www.vintonalethea.com/TWM Summit.
Okay.
Yes.
So once you get on there,
Once you get on the website, you'll be able to register. We'll
And it's for
also be
free.
sharing it on our social media platforms so that we can promote the registration of it.
Are there any sponsors that you want to acknowledge?
Yes, we have a few corporate sponsors, a number of them. A few corporate sponsors. We have Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, which is one of our major sponsors. We also have IPMC, which is one of our sponsors. They are also corporate partners, and so they are corporate partners, and so they are bringing their employees to also participate in the summit as well. There are quite a number of the partners, and so if I'm to start naming them, there would be too many on the show.
Right.
So I'll just say it's important that the community gets awareness of it, and so once the registration is out, and anyone who wants to be able to learn more about mental health is interested, please register and attend because you do not have to pay for it.
All right. So it's coming up in October once again. Let's just make sure that we have the dates in the minds of people who are watching in October. Right?
October 10th.
10th
Yes.
October. My registration will be out before that, and you can register for free. So what are the social media handles?
So we have the Wholesome Minds Summit on Instagram.
Okay.
We have the Wholesome Minds Summit on Facebook, and we have the Wholesome Minds Summit on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yes.
The
so
Wholesome
these
Mind Summit.
Summit,
So
yes.
just follow any of these social media handles and be on the lookout because I believe that this is a very important summit that you have to attend because in this part of the world we take mental health for granted. When someone is seeking, attention, or should I say seeking help with a mental health issue, then there is this stigma. That comes with it. But that shouldn't be the case, right?
At all. Well, I think it's also because there's a lot of misinformation and lack of information.
Right.
That's usually what permeates the stigma. Like I was saying earlier, mental health is not just about thinking, it's also about feelings. So when you're extremely angry, that's a mental health related issue. You're extremely shy, it's also mental health related. It looks at interpersonal relations, so the way we interact with other people as pluses and minuses, because the way you interact can be beneficial to your mental health, or at the same time can be a pathogen to your mental health.
Right.
And giving out the right information is what changes the narrative. I give you a perfect example. A few years ago, a lot of old people were labeled witches and wizards because they were suffering a certain condition that makes them, like, their memory becomes a little hazy and they forget things very easily. So people started saying, she's a witch, he's a wizard, because they are trying to ruin my marriage, right? Ruin my family. Surprise, surprise. That's what they call dementia now. And just because people know, they've embraced them a little more.
Yeah.
Even within the children's space, a lot of children have been diagnosed with many different mental health conditions, which they say, this child is, well, we've come to know today, it's not that they have a disorder, they're just neurodivergent. So their brain works a little differently. And if you can understand the way their brain works, you can interact with them. That's the reality. So more information is important to change the narrative on the stigma that permeates mental health.
All right. Very well said. We'll end this conversation here, but I'm grateful that you joined us in the studio, and even more grateful that you're doing the Wholesome Mind Summit.
Looking forward to seeing you attend as well.
Well, definitely. I'll be there. I value my mental health, and so anything that can help me improve that is something that I'm definitely going to jump at. So make sure that you are attending the Wholesome Mind Summit on the 10th of October at the Labadi Beach Hotel. Make sure that you follow the social media handles and register before it's too late. Lady Anne Suman is a managing attorney, or should I say, like we always say here, private legal practitioner.
I work as a team though. I don't work alone.
Dr. Seth Mausi Asafo is a clinical psychologist. Thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned. There's still more to come here on GH Today. We'll be right back.